Let's go Dolphins! And trust me, you're not ready for this. The Dolphins are about to make some shocking changes that could completely change the future of this franchise. And if anyone was still holding out hope that things would be calm before the season started, they better buckle up. The drama, the tension, the chaos, it's all unfolding now. Mike McDaniel knows that if this team has any chance of making it to the Super Bowl, he needs a roster that's ready to fight. But once again, Chris Grier, who should have been fired long ago but somehow still clings to his job, is playing with fire. And, folks, the consequences could be catastrophic. I've got everything you need to know, the real story behind the locker room drama, the shocking fallout with Jalen Ramsey, and how the front office is struggling to keep it all together. But before we get started, hit the like button if you've been a Miami Dolphins fan for over 20 years. It's amazing to see fans of all generations standing strong. And hey, if your heart bleeds teal and orange, leave a comment right now saying, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds teal and orange. So let's get right to it. The Jalen Ramsey situation is booming, and it's one of the most significant stories in Miami right now. NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe, who has deep connections in South Florida, dropped a bombshell. There was active talk involving Ramsey not only during draft weekend, but throughout May as well. Yet things have remained relatively quiet, at least on the surface. Wolfe made a crucial point. Mark your calendars for June 1st. Why? Because the financial implications for the Dolphins are huge. Trading Ramsey before June 1st would saddle Miami with a staggering $28 million salary cap hit this season, a $12 million increase from his current $16 million cap hit. If they wait until after June 1st, their salary cap hit will drop to just $7 million, freeing up $9 million in cap space that could be crucial for signing free agents like Asante Samuel Jr. or Rasul Douglas. And make no mistake, this trade is happening. Wolfe confirmed that it's not a matter of if but when, with June being the most likely window. Ramsey himself won't be attending OTAs next week, which tells you all you need to know about how fractured this relationship has become. What's even juicier is the list of teams that Ramsey is reportedly interested in. Everyone expected the Los Angeles Rams to be in the mix, but two surprising names popped up: the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. The Falcons connection makes sense since Raheem Morris is there now. He coached Ramsey back when they were both with the Rams. The Panthers, though, that's a head-scratcher. Sure, Ramsey has a good relationship with Panthers defensive coach Ejiro Evero, but let's be real. Carolina is years away from being a contender. Why would a 30-year-old star corner like Ramsey, who should be laser-focused on chasing a championship, want to go to a rebuilding team? But here's where things get even messier. Anthony Weaver, when asked about the split between Miami and Ramsey, made it clear it wasn't about money or on-field performance. Instead, it came down to personal conflicts. What he diplomatically called relationships are hard. Reports suggest that Ramsey and head coach Mike McDaniel had a serious falling out. While no one's going on the record to say Ramsey requested a trade, this smells like a situation that became untenable. Remember when McDaniel, at the end-of-season press conference, called out unnamed players for being late to meetings? You don't have to connect too many dots to figure out who one of those players might have been. And if you think the secondary looks thin now, you're absolutely right. With Ramsey out, the cornerback room leans heavily on Cam Smith, Storm Duck, and Kader Kohou. The problem? Cam Smith has shown next to nothing to suggest he's ready for a starting role. The hype around him feels like pure Dolphins propaganda. Last season, in the mere 103 cover snaps he played, Smith was torched, giving up over 80% completion, a QB rating of 122.4 when targeted, and he surrendered a touchdown in extremely limited action. His most infamous meltdown came against the Arizona Cardinals when he was repeatedly burned by Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. That game was pivotal. A win could have propelled Miami to the playoffs, but the secondary crumbled, and Cam Smith was a glaring liability. Let's be honest, Smith didn't play as a rookie because Vic Fangio had him deep in the doghouse. Then, last year, after missing the first 4 games with injury, he came back, played terribly, and got benched for undrafted rookie Storm Duck. I mean, how does Chris Grier think this guy is suddenly ready for CB2 duties? Grier himself even admitted Smith can't be babied anymore and has to step up. But based on what we've seen, Dolphins fans have every right to be skeptical, if not outright furious. And the Dolphins know they can't go into the season with this cornerback group as is. They're absolutely going to sign another corner. Whether it's Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr., or maybe, just maybe, Stephon Gilmore, they need help. But let's be real, trusting Grier to make the right call? That's a scary thought. This front office has bungled far too many personnel decisions already. But the conversation doesn't stop at just moving Ramsey for picks. There's growing chatter about the Dolphins exploring player-for-player trades. If Miami works out a deal with the Rams, a name being floated is cornerback Kobe Durant, plus a late-round pick. Durant isn't a game changer, but he's solid. Last season he allowed just a 56.9% completion rate and held opposing QBs to a 72.3 rating when targeted. He's also in the final year of his rookie deal, so it could be a cheap, short-term patch. If it's the Falcons, then maybe a player like safety DeMarco Hellams comes back along with a 5th-round pick. Hellams is a physical, aggressive tackler who showed promise during his rookie preseason before an injury sidelined him for the regular season. Adding him would create real competition in Miami's safety room. Iron sharpens iron, right? Then there's the most unlikely scenario, a trade with Carolina that would bring defensive lineman Ashawn Robinson to Miami, plus a 6th-round pick. Robinson is a strong interior presence who had 80 tackles and 5.5 sacks last season with the Giants before signing with the Panthers. It's a stretch, but if Carolina's D-line is too crowded, maybe a deal happens. So Dolphins fans, the big question I want to throw your way is this. What do you think about this entire Jalen Ramsey saga? Should Miami prioritize getting a player back, or should they go all in on stacking draft picks for the future? Because this conversation is far from over. Let's be brutally honest, this whole situation is a mess that never should have happened in the first place. The fact that a player of Jalen Ramsey's caliber is about to walk out the door after just 1 year in Miami is a massive failure from the top down. And yes, I'm looking directly at Chris Grier. This is the same guy who continues to have 9 lives in the Dolphins organization, when in reality, he should have been out the door years ago. And now, once again, his inability to manage egos, personalities, and roster construction is putting this team's Super Bowl hopes in jeopardy. It gets worse when you look at what's happening behind the scenes. Word is that the Dolphins have already mentally moved on from Ramsey. According to Cameron Wolfe, the organization is now speaking about him entirely in the past tense. Think about that. This isn't some hypothetical scenario or a last-ditch effort to mend fences. This is happening. They've turned the page. It's over. And the ripple effect this has on the defense cannot be overstated. Because here's the reality, there is no magical cornerback waiting in the wings to replace Ramsey's production. Cam Smith isn't him. Storm Duck is a fun story, but let's be real, the man was an undrafted free agent for a reason. Kader Kohou, solid in the slot, but he's not locking down elite receivers on the outside. Jason Marshall Jr. and Ethan Bonner are developmental depth pieces at best. And if the Dolphins don't land one of the few remaining solid free agents, this secondary is going to get cooked weekly. Let's also talk about the financial angle. Yes, waiting until after June 1st gives the Dolphins a much-needed $9 million in cap relief. But let's be clear about something else. That's not free money. That's money that should have been part of a much more cohesive and forward-thinking cap strategy. Instead, Grier's constant Band-Aid approach, kicking the can down the road with restructures and backloaded contracts, is catching up. And now, to create room, you're forced to jettison an elite cornerback you paid a hefty price for just 1 offseason ago. And don't get it twisted, this isn't just about cap space. This is about culture. Mike McDaniel and Ramsey butted heads hard, and the fallout from that rift is why we're here today. McDaniel is a player-friendly coach, but there are lines. Ramsey, for whatever reason, whether it was being chronically late to meetings or challenging McDaniel's authority, crossed them. And unlike the old Dolphins teams that would sweep dysfunction under the rug, McDaniel said, "Nope, we're not doing this." But even that comes with consequences. Because while McDaniel is rightly drawing a line, the front office hasn't given him the proper support to replace elite talent like Ramsey. If this was a front office with vision, they'd already have a young CB ready to step in. But instead, we're now forced to squint hard and pretend Cam Smith is something other than what our own eyes have seen, an underperforming, oft-injured liability. It's painful to say, but this is the Dolphins' reality. You've got an offensive juggernaut, a quarterback in Tua who can absolutely lead this team deep into the playoffs, and one of the most innovative coaches in football.